So here, the Titans, you have a split safety presentation. If you say I'm going to have a middle field open on one side and a middle field closed on the other, and these safeties have the ability, they can go drop straight back into quarters. There's a lot of teams running read two, which these two guys are going to read the number two, and it could be quarters versus one release, and it could be split field. It could be cover two, where you got a deep half safety and a cloud, where these guys shift to it post snap after your release. And so the pre-snap read by the quarterback changes completely. You can have these safeties end up, this guy drops back and he actually shades to this side. So he's not giving you a real clear, am I a quarters or am I a deep middle safety? And this guy is going to sit here and he's going to cover anything that comes crossing the field. So suddenly you start having these split field coverages. And what they do is they'll, a lot of times, and this is also Pete Carroll was heavily involved in this, is they're going to say, we're going to man up this backside and we're going to run a zone over here and we're going to run man over here. And so we're going to give you a presentation like this is half field and this could be middle field closed. And so now your zone beaters where they're taking 4/3 become very muddy. And like Kirk was saying, you can get 3 steps into your drop and you don't figure out which way are these safeties playing. Is that safety playing a curl flat or is he man coverage on juice? Sometimes you don't know. So it's really hard. It comes down to quarterbacks have to have there's a lot of film study they've got to digest of what these look like pre-snap to post-snap. Kyle Shanahan is really good at this of giving coverage clues. So here you're going to have, this is Christian McCaffrey spread out wide. We're in 21 personnel. This is Juszczyk in the flex spot, and this is Kittle at the tight end. So you have your 2 running backs and a tight end to one side of the field. So that's giving you a really clear look that they don't have these linebackers out there. It's a corner and a safety. That tells you that these guys are playing zone on this side. So that helps your quarterback understand the data. You also have to have a quarterback who can understand the data. The other part is they have a 285-pound outside linebacker, Jihad Ward, on Kendrick Bourne in the slot. This is not man coverage. So neither side, you're not getting, so that tells you this is not a split field coverage. This is, we are getting a base defensive coverage. And the 49ers were also running no huddle here. So what are they going to run? They're going to run this is stick lion. So you're going to get a little stick concept here. Excuse me, that's a little bit off. Kurt Warner would be so mad at me. This stick, he loves the number 2 straight to the flat. And you get a little stick concept here where you get a stick route. This will sit down versus zone, run away versus man, and Juszczyk will be straight to the flat. And then on the backside, you have a lion concept here, which is double slant. Yeah, it's old Bill Walsh West Coast term. So this can be pure progression if you don't know if you aren't certain what you're looking for. It's going to go right to left. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. But you can also streamline this where you take away one right at the snap, and you're going to say, I'm not going to make this a pure progression. I'm going to take this away and say, okay, what I'm going to do is I know I'm getting zone, so I have to identify, is this guy going to drop in a half field or is he going to drop into a quarters? And once he does that, I know if I'm reading here or here as far as a 1 to 2. And it's now a horizontal stretch read. So this is where Brock is so good what's his butt from NFL Films has always talked about.
Greg Cosell.
Yes, Greg Cosell has always talked about Brock as a post-snap operator. This is where he's so good because he's not going to worry about this as looking at the window as going 1 to 2. He's going to read the safety. So you see his eyes are there at the safety. He sees first steps are back. That tells you he's quarters. So he's going to then move to this guy who's going to be in the curl flat. And he's going to say, okay, I got him in a horizontal stretch. Which way does he go? Does he stay in or does he stay out? So that's where Brock goes from. It can be pure progression, but he understands the coverage. So now it is a conflict progression. Does that make sense?
I think that we want it to be simple, right? We want it to be either one or the other. But the reality is it's not one or the other. And the best way to be able to function as a quarterback is to be able to do both, right? Go back to the beginning of that clip with Kirk Cousins. He said defenses muddy things up so you can't read the coverage pre-snap. Well, if Kyle Shanahan gives you clues or that you use motion or whatever, and you simplify that picture before the snap, then that changes a little bit. So you can do that. So you need to be able to do both. And Brock is very good at being able to do that.
And your quarterback has to be able to understand all the data that he's being given. And that's where Kyle Shanahan, sometimes it's like he's a very quarterback friendly offense. That doesn't mean every quarterback can run his offense. That means that if you can do what Brock does, then Kyle's going to, and this is why the two love each other so much. Like why Kyle Shanahan, because he can say, I can give you the data clues and you can understand what you're seeing out there and process it so quickly. So Brock's going to take the drop. He sees this guy is turned and he's running out there. So he knows he's going to Kittle. Okay. Because he read safety to here. He wasn't reading window to window. This was coverage. So he's reading the coverage here and then balls out with a guy, Tavondre Sweat, hitting him. That's what makes the difference, is that some quarterbacks you ask to do this, they're just going to be going window. And so the way he's able to operate this that can be a pure progression play if they make it muddy, but he understands it, and how smooth it looks when he sees it and he processes it so quickly is so fun to watch.
I think your point is a really good one about like Kyle. Like think of it as if someone gives you this book that has all the secrets of the universe in it. It's like, great, if you can read this and understand it, you'll be a lot better off. But if you can't understand what's in the book, it doesn't matter that they've presented you with all this information. And I think that is when we talk about the marriage between a coach and a quarterback, the fact that those two things match up is what makes this pairing so effective, even if Brock doesn't have the strongest arm. Even if he does have some other things that maybe you don't like, it doesn't matter, because I think this sort of compensates for it.
Well, and I think it comes down to, when we talk about Brock as an intermediate layered thrower, and this isn't just me, I've said this for a long time. I think he's one of the top 2 intermediate layered throwers in the league. JT O'Sullivan on his last episode said he thinks he's the best intermediate layered thrower, best anticipation thrower in the league. I think Stafford might have a say in that as well. But we look at, okay, who's the best guy to throw a fastball down the middle of the field? Josh Allen. Who's the guy who can roll out and make an off schedule throw 60 yards down the field? That's Josh Allen. Like, there's no question. When you look at the guy who's the best combination of runner and thrower, that's Josh Allen. In those ways, Josh is at the top of the list, and there's different guys for different categories. And it's why I always say that quarterback rankings always come down to, what do you like seeing out of a quarterback? What do you value in a quarterback? Because people will downplay Brock because of the arm and other stuff. But I go, but if you really like intermediate passing, Brock's your guy. Like, he's going to be at near the top of that list. It's just different strengths and things. So here, again, presenting positive pictures, and most quarterbacks would not want this kind of movement. So they're starting out with 4 eligibles to one side, 4 by 1, with Kittle being the one opposite. And so you see they've got a corner and a safety still over here. Again, this is a coverage check. You're seeing how are they going to, and you're forcing communication by the defense. They've got to communicate. How are we going to account for 4 by 1? Because there's certain checks they're going to have. And so you get to see how do they move. And so then you change it, and now you're 3 by 2. So you have 3 by 2. Okay. So now they're going to be forced into more communication. And now you're going to send McCaffrey in motion again. And so you went from 4 by 1 to now 2 by 3. So you've completely changed the presentation for the offense. And this is, again, where you have this is going to be a split field read. So here we're going to have this is going to be a tree kind of concept here, where you're going to run a tree route paired with a clearing route on the outside. This is where you're going to want to go against middle field closed. So middle field closed. And then over here, we're going to have a levels concept. So we're going to run Kittle on a little under route. We're going to run Jennings on a little short post here, kind of like a field post. And we're going to put McCaffrey out here and run a streak. So the idea is, against middle field open, so you get split safeties, you're going to high-low the mic down the middle. If you get middle field closed out here, what you're going to do is you're going to leverage the curl flat player outside. So this is where Brock now has a split field read, what Kirk Cousins was talking about, where, okay, I get single high, I'm coming over here. Single high over here. If I get 2 high, I'm going over here. So now you have that split field read. This is not a progression read. This is not a pure progression read. So that's where Brock has to identify this, and you've given him this data, and he's going to look at these safeties, split safeties. Okay, so now he's going to work this. So he's going to work this to here, and we're going to get a high-low read right here. Now, DeMarcus Robinson, they have a bust on this, and he's going to break wide open, would have scored a touchdown, but the defense did not dictate that the read goes there. So he has no reason for his eyes to go to that side of the field. So from here, Brock's reading it, and you're going to see this guy takes Kittle on the under. And so Brock wants to hit this. The problem is this protection does not hold up quite long enough, but the window is going to be there. And you can see Brock's reading it. He wanted to make that throw right into here to hit Jennings. That's where the throw was going to be. And that's probably a touchdown. If he gets in there, he's going to split these safeties, and it's a touchdown. But the protection, the right tackle, McKivitz doesn't hold up. So now Brock's out of there, and now he's just going to go pick up a few yards on the run. But you can see where his read was at, where his head was at, that he's understanding middle field open, where he's getting split safeties and working the right progression on there. So this also shows Kyle Shanahan is willing to give him split field reads. So he's not just saying, we're going to make you do pure progression.
And I think it's also dangerous why, especially with screenshots, you could say, well, Demarcus Robinson was wide open on the play. And it's like, yeah, he was open, but it's not like Madden where you call hike and then you just look and see which of all your receivers gets open. You don't have time to deal with that. You need to be looking in the right spot because you're not going to have time to do that all the time. Now, sometimes a quarterback can say, oh, there was a coverage bust, and they see it, and Brock has done that. But that doesn't happen every time. It's really good when it does happen, but this is just a natural play. The nice thing about this is he doesn't force it, number one, and potentially throw an interception, right? He doesn't say, well, I know it's going to be open, so I'm just going to throw it there because there's pressure and I can't wait. He doesn't do that. And he doesn't throw it away. He scrambles and picks up a couple of yards, some positive yardage, and they live to play another down.
100%. So, so right now we've seen some split field reads from him. We've seen pure progression ideas that have pure progression in there. We've seen vertical stretch, different conflict reads. Okay, now you're going to have a pick a side read. So this is a PAS read. John Gruden loved pick a side reads. I have his install from the Raiders, and he almost everything in the spring install is pick a side reads. He loved it. So this is old Hank, or what Bill Walsh called curl flat concept. So what you're going to do is you're going to bring George Kittle, sit over the middle of the ball, and then you're going to run just mirroring concepts here. You're going to end up with a curl, like a 10-yard curl and a flat route. And then you're going to do the same thing. You're going to run a 10-yard curl and a flat route. And this is pick a side, meaning you use this over route to see which of these guys attacks the over. And whichever side does, then you work that side of the progression. So if it's, let me switch to this color. If this guy comes in, now you're going to work this vertical stretch. If it's this guy, that did not work doing that in white. If it's this guy who comes over, then you work this vertical stretch. So it's a pick a side read. Joe Montana did pick a side reads so much when he was in the 80s. This is where it's at. So you can see Brock's head's down the middle of the field. He sees this guy turns to look at Kittle. This guy's looking at him. So that tells him, all right, I'm going to work this side on the pick a side. This is on third down, by the way. So this sets up a touchdown. Without this third down, it's not there. So now he's going to turn and look, and he's reading this guy because this is the guy in a vertical stretch. We've got him in a vertical stretch. This guy's got to stay over the top. So we're stretching this curl flat guy out here. If he stays back, then you're going to hit Christian McCaffrey, and he's going to run out here, and he's going to get the first down. If he drives on McCaffrey, blue. If he drives on McCaffrey, then we're going to hit this curl route where it's sitting right for the first down. And so Brock sees it, sees the guy go out on McCaffrey, hits Demarcus Robinson, and you get a first down. And that sets up the next touchdown because, again, this is third down. So we're now seeing Brock. I mean, this is what I mean. Brock can do a lot of these different reads. He can do pure progression. He can do horizontal conflict. He can do split field. He can do pick a side. Like, this is where you're seeing the arsenal of abilities that Brock has to read the field.
And this is all before he ever throws the ball, too, which is, I have said for years that more quarterbacks in the NFL fail because they can't do it from the neck up than the neck down. There are a bunch of dudes that are big and strong enough and fast enough to throw and have the athleticism to stay in the league. But if you can't process all this stuff, if you can't go through all of this stuff and fast, like lightning fast, you're not going to last long. And that's why I think Kyle probably likes Brock more than a lot of people do, because Kyle sees all this. He sees the processing. He sees that Brock has his head in the right spot. He always talks about that when he evaluates Brock's play. That's what Kyle loves, because if you can't do that, your arm strength doesn't, the physical stuff doesn't matter.
Sleeper is the #1 fantasy sports app. It pays to know sports. Pick more or less on top players. Your first pick is on us, so start winning now. Play in Texas, Georgia, Minnesota, and 27 more states. Pick anytime across all sports, pregame or live. Over 10 million players are already on Sleeper. Make your picks count. Score up to 1,000 times your cash. Join today. Get up to $100 credit using code GSP. Call your shot on Sleeper. Download now.
And that's the way Bill Walsh was. And that's the way Mike Shanahan was. Bill Walsh went back to, he said, arm strength is only necessary up to a certain point. And after that, it's just gravy, because you have to be able to make throws, or else there's going to be limiting factors. But after you hit a certain marker, it's not about arm strength. It's going to be about the processing ability. It's going to be the feet. It's going to be like so many of the other things. So now we're going to see, okay, now you're going to have a defense make it a really muddy picture. And so can you still then do pure progression? Kirk Cousins talked about the struggle of going from what we just saw to pure progression. That's a different animal. So now you're going to see a pure progression play. We're going to run Kendrick Bourne on this what's called a spread route. I had to think about it real quick. It's a spread route, so it's going to look like a shallow cross, and then it's going to break back outside. This is really just an influence route. It's meant to draw a defender this way. And so for the real 1, 2, 3 progression, and you're going to get George Kittle's going to come, and he's going to work outside on this little outside breaking route, and then you're going to get Jennings on a basic route here coming over the middle. This is called a follow concept. And then you're going to Christian McCaffrey sit down right here. So the way this is going to work is you're trying to influence the defense this way with somebody, and then work one window to the second window to the third window. So this is a window, 1, 2, 3 pure progression play. And so now you're going to see what it does, because now you have a muddy look by the defense. They're showing this pressure, then they're backing out. The safeties have they gave you one look pre-snap, and now pause. And now you're seeing one guy drop, one guy come out, pressure's backing out. So that's where pure progression can be beneficial. We're going to try and loop this out. We're trying to draw this guy over so that you can open up Kittle. And the idea is, okay, if Kittle breaks and he doesn't get open because this guy's coming, then I have Juwan Jennings. And if he doesn't stay open because this guy goes over here, now I have Christian McCaffrey. So you're putting this in an across the board read, where if the first window's open, you can hit it. Second window's open, you can hit it. Third window's open, you can hit it. If they're not there, then Brock goes and he tries to make something. Okay. So we have this as a pure progression. Brock's reading this. He's waiting for this to open up. This guy backs out, so he takes that away. Okay, one's taken away, and now he's going to move, and you see him looking here to two. Two's taken away because this guy's sitting because they handed these off. So that's not there, and then you're going to end up with this guy on number 3. So the Titans did a good job of taking away first window, second window, third window. So the pure progression is exhausted. The 3 windows are taken, and now he's going to go off schedule. And then he's able to get out here and find Demarcus Robinson working across the field.
And that was one play after he missed Ricky Pearsall, who was wide.
He was so mad, too. You could see him just hunched over, screaming. He was so mad he missed him. It was his worst miss of the day.
Yeah,
there's no question about that.
He almost never misses those throws. But the fact that he was able on the very next play to still go through all of his reads, and when it wasn't there for him, scramble and make a huge, this is a 30-yard pass play. The fact that he was able to do that the very next time, I like that too, because to me, it speaks to his mental toughness. He didn't get down on himself. He didn't get frustrated. He didn't try and force something in the progression because, he was mad that he missed Pearsall. He let that play die, and he found a new play, and they pick up the 30-yard gain, and then the miss to Pearsall is irrelevant.
100%. And so, wow, that didn't save my, okay. Sorry, I had a note on here of use checks route, and I'm seeing it didn't draw that in. So this last one we're going to talk about, this was the play that if you watched Kyle Shanahan mic'd up, some people have edited these things down, and it looks like that Kyle Shanahan's telling Brock he's really proud of him after the jump pass. It was actually after this play. And I'll explain why that is. And again, it comes into this whole conversation of pure progressions and everything, because this is, I thought, his best read of the day.
Kyle hates the jump pass. He's never going to say to Brock after a jump pass, "I'm so proud of you." He doesn't ever want Brock to do it.
No, he doesn't. You can tell he's like, God, he keeps doing that. He got it this time, but man, it drives him insane. It drives him absolutely bananas. So this is what we would consider, this can be pure progression. This is also split field. So we're running a play here. This is called H choice to the top up here. H choice. So I drew this with Juszczyk's route so I could make notes and clear things out, because there's a lot to get through on this one. So H choice is this choice route. Well, first thing we have to understand is that Jennings is on a corner route that's an alert. So it's clear as day in every Kyle Shanahan playbook I have from 2019, 2018, 2016, 2015. This concept, the choice, is always an alert to the corner, meaning it is not in the progression. It is, you peek at it if it's there. If not, it's not in the progression. It's really about the choice route. So Christian McCaffrey can sit down, he can break out, he can break inside. The idea is you're watching to where is the defense going to be backing out, who's going to be carrying this corner route. If it's inside or if it's outside, then that's where Christian McCaffrey is going to break. And so that's your idea. This works against a lot of different coverages. You really like it against single high or middle field closed is where you really like it. So middle field closed. It can also work against middle field open, though. You like it against man, either two man or single man. You like it against that. The only thing you don't like it against is bracket coverage. So if they're bracketing McCaffrey in some way, it is where you don't like it. If it's cover two, you probably will look to this side sometimes. But this is what's interesting is Shanahan doesn't build a 2-zone beater in on the other side. He builds a quarters and cover 3 beater on this side, which is fascinating with this. So here you're trying to work this if it's, you get a premier look on from your safeties. And then on the other side, what we have is Kittle's running a route that's going to curl up. And then if he's going against man, he's going to break outside. This is important for what Juszczyk runs, because Juszczyk is going to run a little route out here, almost like a rail. On this one, he sits it down. And the reason why is because they want this to be, unless this is cover 3 zone, they want him to sit it down, because they want, if he's got a man coverage guy on him, they want that guy sitting so that Brock can get to his man beater if they bracket McCaffrey. So you have a good man beater on one side. If they bracket McCaffrey, now you work to your second best man coverage beater, which is George Kittle. So you have Juszczyk sit down, so his guy can't peel off and go cover this route. So you sit those down. If it's cover 3 zone, then what you're going to have Juszczyk do is he's going to run a clearing route out here, and you're going to work Kendrick Bourne is on your out route. It's going to be a little Tony concept here. So that's where you're going to work if you get 3 zones. So against single man, cover 1 man, you're going to work McCaffrey. Against cover 4, you're probably going to work McCaffrey. If you get cover 3, you're going to work Bourne as your number 1. If you get cover 1 man with bracket on McCaffrey, you're going to work Kittle as your number 1. So this is a very coverage based read. There's all sorts of number 1s. This isn't a pure progression of like, I'm going 1 to 2. This is where you're asking Brock to identify the coverage and streamline the read to get to the right spot.
And think about this. This is for one play in the game. He's got to know, what do I do against cover 1? What do I do against cover 4? What do I do against cover 3? This is all for one play in the game. And then he's got to remember a billion other plays in the game too.
Yeah, and that's what Kirk Cousins had talked about at the beginning of that presser, right? He was like, so you would kind of work your way down through the data. Is it cover 3? Is it cover 2? Split safety, single safety? Is it pressure, bump, cover 4, off coverage? All these things. He's working through that. This is what's Brock is working through. So exactly what Kirk was talking about when he got into the NFL, which was under Kyle Shanahan. This is what we're talking about, and so he's going to work all through all this, and then and this is what's so wild about this play. So now you're going to see at the snap, we're going to motion that out. Okay, right at the snap, we get this, and this safety backs out. So Brock's saying, okay, I'm going to be alert here for cover 2. They're looking like they're in man coverage on this side with a safety, and so he's going to then look at it, see this safety, and he first looks over here, and what does he see? Okay, he sees they're in 2 zone. This guy's in a half field. This guy's squatting on McCaffrey, and this guy's ready to go. So now he's moving on, and he's turned this into a low-high 1-2 cover 2 beater smash concept, because they got it one with the cover 2 on that side. So this is your cover 2 beater. This is like the last in the answer sort of a thing. Like the last thing we were expecting is them to be in cover 2, and here it is. And he streamlines it right through this read, and he buys himself a little bit of time for the route to break open, and hits Jennings. And it looks like, oh my gosh, Kyle Shanahan, dialed up this amazing coverage beater and everything. Again, it comes down to, can your quarterback handle this sort of data? And this is why when you heard him on the broadcast, he said, Brock, I was so proud of you on that play, because that is what he worked through, all of that.
And the part I like about it too is it's not a risky throw. He throws it towards the pylon. If Juwan doesn't catch it, nobody catches it. So it's not even a risky play from Brock. It's just, hey, put the ball in the spot, let Juwan go run to it. They get the touchdown. I think did that make it 31-10?
Yes. That or
no, that was
that was the Kittle one. That was the Kittle touchdown. This was his second touchdown of the day.
So this was even, the score was closer at that point, but tremendous play by Brock. And it makes way more sense why Kyle Shanahan would be complimentary of him as opposed to the jump throw, which Kyle hates.
Yeah. And again, it just comes out like people say, people will give me a hard time of like, you're really high on Brock. You just kind of glaze Brock and all this stuff. I'm like, it's because you see stuff like this when you really dive into the film. And it's not just me who says it. Greg Cosell says this kind of stuff. Brett Coleman talks about this stuff. Any people who've really dove into the film, you tend to see this over and over again. And so, yes, Brock has physical limitations. Absolutely. I'll be the first one to admit that. I would like him to make those rail shots in between the corner and the cloud player down the sidelines a little bit more. He doesn't quite have the arm strength to do that, but he does so many of these other things well that you go, that is what I like to see. That's why he's higher on my quarterback rankings, because I really like to see that stuff. That from my personality, I really like that kind of stuff. Not everybody's. Some people are like, man, I love a guy who sees it and rips it, and he can nail it down the middle in the tight windows and all that stuff. To each their own. For me, I love seeing that.
I just think that it's hard for people to dive into that. People don't have time to dive into that, right? So it's easier to see a whole shot, right? Oh, look at this throw. He rips it right in between. Great. That's the kind of guy I want. And that's fine. Like, I get why people want those guys. Ideally, you want a guy that can do both, right? That'd be the perfect thing. But we can't afford all the things that we want.